Morning. Grateful to be in the house of the Lord. God has not given us a spirit of fear because He is our refuge and our strength and our hope, and He will fight on our behalves. Now that I mentioned we don't have to be afraid, I'm going to be honest and admit that I like horror movies. Not all of them. Some of them are really... I'm not going to get off on that. In 1975, the movie Jaws came out. I was 4. In 1979, I believe, I'm pretty sure I was 8 years old, I watched that movie for the first time. And I would like to state for the record that my mother did not know and did not approve. This was not lax parenting. This was me over at a friend's house who had Showtime. And it did not scare me. I heard college students talking about how they were afraid to go into the water at Lake Nacogdoches, for goodness sake, because they saw Jaws. And I was 8 years old going, there are no sharks in this water. Didn't scare me. My mother wore contacts and had one of them get stuck to her eye because her eye dried out, and she's using drops and peeling and trying to get it off of her eye. Freaked me out. I had nightmares about it. That messed with me. Don't like the eyeball thing. I say that to be honest about something that scares me, because I have cataract surgery coming up. It's no big deal. I have never, ever, ever, ever heard of anybody going blind from having cataract surgery. And if you have, keep it to yourself. Thank you very much. It's basically a tonsillectomy, a little higher. I mean, it's no big deal. I am freaked. A few days ago, I had to go down to Houston for prep for this, where they laid a cotton swab on my eyeball multiple times. Freaked me out. I'm sitting in the chair praying, hoping, trying to be still. Don't move your eye. Then they stuck a needle in my eye. Hurt a little, not too bad. But it freaked me out. It messed me up. Then what I thought was going to be over by like the 23rd or something of October, be done. They said, no, we don't need to do it that fast. How about you have the second surgery done like the first week of December? So take this period of anxiety and stress and let's just extend it by a month and a half. Why not? No big deal. The reason I bring all that up is because I am terminally unique and nobody else here is like this. But when I get scared and anxious, especially if I don't see a way out of it and I'm going to have to face that fear and probably have no control over how well I do in facing that fear, I have a tendency to get angry. And I know that's like weird. Nobody gets angry when they get scared but me. But there's just something about being in a situation where it feels like I'm in danger and I can't do anything about it that makes me want to fight. I don't know. Something about knowing I can't run away takes away the flee option, and that leaves me with fight. So I've been having some anger. In all honesty, as in my emotion cup is full to the brim, so it doesn't take much dropping in there to make it kind of overflow. I'm looking at this and I'm reviewing things and I'm going, okay, God, I see where I'm in the wrong and I'm not trusting you. And I'm letting fear control me because it's controlling my emotions and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going to do better. I'm going to walk in grace. Now that's good advice. But what I did was determine that I was going to walk in grace. Like I'm going to step up and do something. And then it hit me how much like an Israelite I am. Ancient Israelite. We have a tendency to kind of laugh at those guys and make fun of them and despise them a little bit and be critical of them a lot because they were foolish. God would demonstrate his power in amazing ways that we can barely even imagine. And in just a few weeks, if not just a few years later, they're acting like there is no God, like they forgot he existed. He'd save them, and then they'd forget he cared. There would be dire consequences for not doing it his way, and then they would go, yeah, I think I can do it my way. And they would walk with God for a little while, and then they would get stupid. And then they would, oh no, that was a mistake. Let me walk with God some more. And things would get better. Oh, that feels better. Now let me do my thing. Oh, goodness gracious. And then some of them were a little bit better at it than others. And we see a pretty good example of that all through the New Testament with the Pharisees who determined to figure out a way to, by their might and their strength, walk with God. You realize the Pharisees weren't the bad guys. They weren't evil. We kind of treat them like they're the, second coming of Satan or something, like they're really evil. These people love God to the best of their messed up ability. They knew the Bible better than you do, better than I do. The Old Testament anyway. They were faithful in ways that I have never, ever been. And they fell short. And then finally you have another group of, oh, by the way, Israelites who became apostles and did amazing things for God and faced fear and walked into situations that, oh, wow, and did amazing things. Were they any better than the Israelites or the Pharisees? No. As a matter of fact, probably one of the most famous ones is who? Paul. He was a Pharisee. Called himself a Pharisee of Pharisees, as in he was really, really good at being a self-righteous jerk. The only difference in any of those groups is the cross. So the Pharisees thought they could do it and they couldn't. The Israelites tried to do it and failed. When we try our best because of what we reason and see, and yes, I see there is a God and there is definitely a God and I'm going to do this to serve him, we fall short, we fail, we get tired, we get scared, we get weak, we get tempted, we get whatever, and we fail over and over and over again. The cross, that makes the difference between I determine that tomorrow I'm going to keep my anger in check. When that doesn't work over and over again, the cross is the one that says I don't have to fight that battle. Jesus already did. I just have to let the grace fall and walk in his grace. Not out of my determination, but with the grace to walk in grace. It's circular. As crazy as that is, God gave us grace on the cross. And then he gave us grace on our heart so that we could see and hear the Spirit's call and what Jesus did. So we have the grace to receive. And then we have the grace to walk in it, which gives us the grace to walk through our storms without having to fight them. It's pretty awesome. And the only difference between Saul and Paul is a cross. And the one who was there, Jesus. The one who is and was and always will be, who did it right, knowing we couldn't, and gave us his prize. You don't have to fight those battles. Spent my whole life in the early times living a yo-yo battle of doing everything I could with passion and excitement and determination to walk with God. Failing miserably. Giving up for a while. Realizing that's not the answer. I'm going to walk with God. Doing my best and failing. Falling short over and over and over and over again. Because you can't walk with God any better than the Israelites could walk through the desert without being bitter, without grumbling, without disobeying, unless you walk in grace. And you can't walk in grace unless you remember that it's not about your will, and it's not about your determination, and it's not about your strength, and it's not about your moral character, whether you're good or bad, or even what you really want to do. It's all about what Jesus did on that cross so that you don't have to do that anymore. You can just rely on what he did. It doesn't mean you won't ever fail, but it means there's an answer. And if you're doing it, you'll fail less and less and less and less and less. As from glory to glory, you make progress towards the Father, dwelling in the Spirit, looking like the Son, until one day the work is done that you didn't do and can't do. And you are a complete, unique reflection of the holy, righteous love of God. Jesus made that possible. You don't have to beat yourself up. You just got to remember that he already did it. And keep your eyes on Jesus and that cross and that empty grave. And know that because he lives, I can forget tomorrow. I can face now. And if I stay in his presence now, tomorrow's not nearly as scary. Maybe eyeballs don't bother you, but you've got something. And there's nobody breathing who doesn't have something, even if it's to no longer be breathing, that they're afraid of. And the answer is not in your will. It's not in your determination. It's not in your bravery or your courage or anything like that. The answer's in the cross. The answer's in Jesus.